Okay, that should be working. Yes, normally it's like 5 in the morning for me. Just maybe how's it going? How are things? Ooh, what a day. Work was a quiet day communication wise, a busy day actual work wise. So my brain is a bit fried, which uh, probably not the best thing to do. Start streaming straight after I finish work, but that is what it is. Okay. uh, I think I went too long on like being not outright bored, but not having a lot to keep active all the time. Now, a lot more to deal with. So, yes, that is work. That is life, though. So, um, evening. What am I going to be working on? I have been working on getting. Well, been working on getting the last bits of the um, Postgres updates done. Getting those kind of functional. I think I'm there. I think I've got that point. So I've started building out the next feature, which is getting the status to work, or rather, in this case, I've called it status, and I shouldn't have called it status in the actual in the branch. What I should have called it is phase. So the concept here is the initiative has phases its lifetime. It doesn't go back and forth. It doesn't whatever. So I've been trying to make sure I spend the time to document these things and go through. Um, and an initiative has 6 possible phases, right? Exploring, committed, in planning, in progress, complete, and cancelled. And again, highlighting what these things do. And then deliverables have their own phases. Um, these not necessarily phases though. These could transition back and forth. Yeah. Good luck. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I've got to. I'm trying to be thorough on documentation. I appreciate that, right? Thorough on my on I on challenges I'm going to have, on plans I'm going to make, deliverables, what they mean to me. So I think it's very important that I continue to evolve the messaging. If I'm going to talk about this stuff, I need to make sure that I'm not deviating and flip flopping on my ideas, thoughts, because the longer I develop, the more the temptation is to, oh, I could do this, oh, I could do that, and I've got to kind of get that on track. So have um, begun work, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the actual system itself to hopefully track some of these, which will give me an insight. Initiatives, planning, vision delivery. So initiatives, implement status. Again, I've called that the wrong thing. It shouldn't be status, it should be phase. So it's in the exploring phase. So from here, deliverables, deliverables have requirements, requirements have tasks, and tasks are the things that I've estimated on. So we'll ultimately roll up. So a an exploring phase really doesn't mean doing deliverables and stuff, but it's up to the product owner or the product manager to determine whether this goes from the explorable, the exploring or whatever a phase. The idea being that you want to figure out, what's going on. Is this actually something we want to do? What discussions, what documentation, all sorts of other things that could come into this piece. You're exploring it, you're determining, is this something worth working on? And then once you're ready, you move that to a committed. That committed phase means, okay, now we're going to start building out um, the deliverables you create there. Uh, have thought through this. Um, deliverables will be created, but they will not be in a for review phase, right? So they'll be defining. The deliverables start in a defining phase, and they're basically don't even bother looking at their works in progress. They're things that need to kind of fleshed out. That's what we're going to do. So you go from exploring to committed. Committed, you start building out the deliverable. Once you've built out those deliverables, you then would mark the deliverables themselves as ready for review, and that would transition this automatically into in planning. But once you start actually doing the review phase of ready for review into work planning, this moves to in planning. A phase here does not go back though, right? It can't go from in planning back into commit. Work's been done. There's no point in back to in planning. If it's sat in planning for 6 months, that should be represented. So it will ultimately start to show timelines on whether these. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right this second. So what I was working on this morning for work was making sure that this defaults to exploring. And the way I've done that was basically in planning now my object for initiative phase. And this is based off of a I had a bit of an internal debate on um, whether I should kind of map these to enums or whether it's good to use the strings, etc. And it's a bit of back and forth with our robot overlords. Helped me figure out what I was thinking, how I was going about it, and get my terminology correct. And basically, it's a perfectly acceptable way of doing this. The only challenge will come when if I determine that I need to have these values um, manageable on the server. Right now, this list of phases is tracked on both the client and the server. So it will take effort to make sure these line up to what's on the server. And you can already see they actually don't because, well, they do because I'm only defining what I need at this point. I'm not going to define the other phases. And getting my language right is going to be important here. That'll probably crash it. Change an exception. Can't change the type and have the code reapply. That's too much of a. So what I had planned out in the uh, implement status, adding in to be phase, was that I would have wait for that to load. Come on. Good. Phase amount. No, six. Six phases. Yeah, six phases there, seven phases for or 7 stages for deliverable. So when I go into the planning item, the deliverable, I have a requirement. Status should be exploring. Creating a new initiative, the status should show in the list with the status of exploring. On navigation into the initiative, the status should be clearly labeled. Right. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm following my own application, how I'm building the application, and how I want to see it done. And the idea here is this is actually more involved, and oftentimes this actually happens when we lay a story down. There's more involved components that don't get really tracked because there might be other pieces we haven't implemented. There might be more requirements attached. What I want to do is make sure it's possible for the development team to track those extra pieces properly. So here, include the status when creating the initiative. I'll see this better if I go. Technically not at this phase because I don't go enough information. But introduce initiative onto create. Introduce the stronger type enum. Initiative status. That should be initiative phase. For phase. Save that. Edit title. No, I can do. Size right. So this is what I've done, right? Add the property to the initiative model, default to exploring and create, right? So basically, by virtue of being attached to the initiative, the phase is attached, I set it to exploring, which means that when you create one of these, there's no setting it. You don't get to set this when you create the initiative. There's no override. So you can't just say, oh, I want to start it in this form. So that's what gives me. So that's that piece. Now, we have done that piece. Eventually, this introduce the enum, add the property. We've done that piece, completed that piece. Now, the fun fact is, I am using Claude to help me with scripts and stuff. Right? So I'm saying, hey, go and make these migrations, etc. Billy, hello, good evening. How are you doing? So this is interesting because I did initiative status and then I did a rename, changed it. What? I'm going to leave it as is right this second because ultimately I'm going to condense all these into one set of scripts when I do a deliverable, and it's just going to be the creates form. So, but this automatically tracked the fact that these were in views and tables, so it actually did part of the view side for me already, which could potentially break things. Apex, hello, thank you very much for the lurk, appreciate it. Getting some gaming in tonight. So yeah, so I'm using AI for the scripts, etc. So we need to update the publishing side of this. When we capture an initiative, we need to publish that that status now, and it's going to be that value. The table is going to track this. I'm not using another gaming. Nice. I just added little in for that. Doing a programming stream on Saturday. Nice. Yeah. Yep. So this stops me from having enums that I have to map, so I don't have a status as row one, etc. I like this style. It means that the queries are readable. You can map these. These are mapped in infrastructure configuration. So I can say, hey, serialize, deserialize to initiative phase. And it also means that later on, I can actually put rules in here that say, oh, you can't move from this phase to this or this phase to this phase. I can wrap that behavior. The code can tell the right story. The code can read correctly, but still have rules tightly applied and still be even from the data perspective, understandable. You don't have to find the mapping of onto, etc. Okay, so that was that piece. Use initiative phase enumeration, 50 enumeration kernel. Now, I'm not going to do different PRs for any of these. I'm not going to keep branching and pushing. It slows me down. I'm going to try and be better at my commits to make sure I don't do too much. But as it stands right now, and even in reality, these actually might not be separate commit. These might not be separate PRs. They might get rolled up into the same thing. But it's useful to have them tracked as individual pieces of work because you can, if you wanted to do the push, you could actually track the fact that you've got this in. It's got these pieces in it. So this is why I'm doing it this way. I'm breaking the task down into these would be components that could be handled in parallel in some cases. Probably not this one, but when when an initiative is added, got to determine what my adjectives are here because I'm all over the place in some of my naming. Adjective? Yes. Verbs. Verbs. I have subscribers, and this event will listen to that initiative created. Manette, hello, good evening. Hope you are well. I now need to publish that status along with that's what will give me that. So I need to go and change the notification. This notification, not this one. No, this one, sorry. This event lives in the shared kernel, right? It lives out in the events in the foundation library. This is so that other parts of the system can use this library. There's no like shared behavior in here. There's no communication necessarily in here. Just the objects necessary for communication. I need to add the status into it. So we'll do public. Oh, I should stop. Oh, stop all. Come on. Stop. Okay. So I think yes, this will be a string. It's not on its status, right? Now this can't have a default. That's fine. Right? But it will be expected to be set. And now over here, we'll do phase equals if phase. That's got an implicit cast between string and phase. So if we look over here, we've got an implicit initiative phase to string, so it will give us the string value. So that's perfectly legal. 1 second, I'll be back. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to get a bit too warm in here for the dog. Let me verify that. Yes, okay. YouTube just come through. Restream. I cannot get Restream to work for anything. Mojo, good evening. Hope you are well. Okay, so now phase will be included. And again, this is update the publisher and update the initiative, container status. This will contain the enum value. That's it. So that's all I need to do. I now know that that will be published. Grumpy, hello. Good evening. Hope you're well. Um, include status. On maybe doing your stunning job of greeting people as they come in tonight. Oh, oh. Again, I keep calling it status, and it's phase. My language is poor. You are helping. Appreciate it. Saying hi to people. Good place to be. Morning, guy. Good evening. I wasn't confident you all knew each other. I would do shout out, but you all know each other. Go follow everyone. Pretty much everyone in here is a streamer, either part time or otherwise. Early morning. Yes. That might be the laziest way of shouting out people I've ever. Everyone follow everyone. Yep. Talk amongst yourselves, pretty much. Yeah. Okay. So that puts the creation event in there. So let's make sure that works before I go too far. Bring up. Don't like a panda because it's right. Has no dark mode. Don't need to see a panda anyway. Pretty much. Pretty much. That's the start. Like I said, my goal right this second for this stream is to get as much of these phases and statuses in to start really working on the workflows of these objects. It'll take a while. There's a few different pieces that need to kind of represent their status or their phase in this case. I'm calling this phase specifically because this object doesn't jump back and forth. The initiative can only go to a final state. Right? It's either complete or it's cancelled, and everything else in between. There's only your initial states of exploring and um, um, committed are the ones that you move from exploring to committed on the product manager's or the owner of that initiative's intent, and then the next two phases are implied by the system's behavior. Yeah. The Twitch app. I hope you mean the Twitch app. Yes, it is pretty rough to be using. Yeah. BBB, thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate it. Welcome in. Yeah, it's pretty hard to be typing in chat. Active, yeah. Welcome in, raiders. How did the stream go? How are things today? So I'm about to test something. We're about to validate the. This is my. Um, oh yeah, I forgot. It rained. Fine, I'll do it another time. Fine. I'm sure everyone here for that. So we'll wait for the loading to begin. this is my project management application, Kaizu. Is what it will look like in a second when it loads. Right, I'm working on this because I don't like tools like Jira. You are both, yes. You are in both states at the same time. So right now I'm working on the initiatives phases. Initiatives are ideas. They are collecting, what you want to have happen, and you define deliverables as part of an initiative. What I was about to test was if I create a new initiative. Um, Initiative is phases would work. I want to verify that gives it through to the view phase. Right, I have a Y. I can have a description. I can have an owner. In this case, Alan Butterley. I can have start and end dates. I don't want start and end dates for this initiative. They're pretty short lived. And now I should, a short while. Yep, we got Jeffrey Winkle is the other tenant, and Alan Butterley. So bring up, validate that Red Panda that got an initiative. Been a while. It's been a while. And I have phase. So I'm going to drag this over. It's a bright white screen. There is no dark mode, and I'm not messing around with plugins. So apologies. But just so I can show, there's the phase. So that piece is working. Validate it. There's not much value in unit testing that piece because it is here's some fields. Okay, I do unit test those things. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time unit testing things on stream. What I've tended to do is go back and write the tests after the fact. TDD is not something I feel is the most entertaining thing to watch on stream. I like this way of working. Yeah, it's a pretty simple test. So those always feel like rough tests to write because like you have to set up a lot of stuff just to validate. Yep, thing got sent. It's not like it's validating that it went through Kafka. An integration event set. Hey up, Ramblers. So there we go. So we have that phase is now publishing through. Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. I stopped it running. Let's see if it loaded anything. No, no, it was fine. So have the phase pushed. The next part is to go on the view side and capture that. Now, again, like I said, I have been using AI to help me out a little bit in this bet. It's already altered the view side of this. Now I need to just go and do the code on the view. Which, I've mocked this for now 2 years. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to change this, what I'm going to change it to. Oh well. So when the initiative is received, this will create all the associated data. It'll update the core initiative object. It will then go and update the initiative collaborators and anything else. And the status is going to go along with this. This is just a plain database object. There's no logic based around this. This is all pure view. Bought a stand-up desk last night. Today I get a text saying it's coming. I need to clear my hall and stairs. I'm landing in some office space. Oof. Just before Christmas, I ordered a sofa online because our sofas were breaking. So we were expecting it like 10 days and it came in like 4. And we got a text the day it was arriving. It'll be on the UPS truck today. But I got 16 pings because they actually shipped in 16 different boxes. So we had to quickly pull the sofas out of the house in the middle of winter and try and, you know, do all that. And it was not easy. We had to do it in a rush. And I'm not meant to lift things, so that was challenging. But then we had 16 boxes taken up our living room. We had to build a sofa in place while moving stuff around. Well, those boxes, challenging. So anyway, um, the initiative receiver will take that command in. So the first thing we need to do is add the status to the command. We'll do that down there. And this is going to be a string. The phase, I keep calling it status. That's a sign. The fact that I'm struggling with it, yeah. I'm not sure I'd like to develop standing up. Actually, pretty good. This is a standing desk that I'm at right now, but I don't often use it because it scares the dogs. I've kind of fallen out of the habit of using it. I want to get into it more, but I don't have anywhere else for the dogs to go, so they sit underneath me. And if I start it up, they'll, my standing up is well developed. Yeah, I actually do find it kind of engaging. I find my focus is much stronger when I'm stood up. The initiative itself is just an object in the database. And break into song there. These are the basic fields. So again, I don't need to put the enumeration on this. There's no logic attached to this. There's nothing that needs to be triggered or anything. This is just a straight up view of the data. So there's no benefit in me trying to do anything clever. Again, that is telling me there's a bad smell there, unless it's just me breaking that habit. I find that I have a different energy. Yes. I get very restless. Do here. Phase equals. In this case, if I replay the message to get the phase attached, so you'll notice if I go to the view database, go to the initiatives here, this defaults to exploring because the table's set up that way. Again, the script here put the default of exploring on there, so that's why that's patched right this second. That would actually have blown up had that not been defaulted. So yeah, but I got to be careful. I'm not. So event dot phase. Now I'm not going to recreate I'm not going to send the message again, etc., because it's just going to update the same exact thing. But this will work. We'll do it next time we test an initiative. This will be tested as an integration test, I suppose. And I can be this lackluster with this because I'm the one developing. Okay, so capture phase. That is a view consumer, essentially. It's a thin wrapper around consumers in Kafka, differentiated between consumers in Service Bus because I do have the idea of system-wide events place. And Kafka I'm not using for Service Bus. Why not make it more difficult? AI has stolen all my energy lately. I'm laughing at Tony's comment, Grumpy's comment, not not yours. That's, I get that. I kind of get that. I've found my balance of using it in the areas where I am least interested. So the front end stuff, like the front end, I've used AI extensively of late to get to this. Right, that's choice because this is the area I'm the weakest at. It takes me the longest to get any traction on it, and I get bored. When I get bored, I stop working on it. So what I've decided to do is the AI I use on this piece and on the and the database stuff because it will speed me up on those things. But all the backend code, I will ask questions, but I will not use it to actually change the code. And that's where I found my happy place right this second. Yeah. And this is complaining because I don't have status. Um, when updating initiatives, when does not exist? When does not exist? Um, each day I wonder if today is the day I will take over and maybe we're done. Each day I'm disappointed. I still think that companies that decide to lay off developers, especially experienced developers, um, for replacement with AI, are going to find that going to be a hard time in their future. I think I've got it stuck in my head, and that's the problem. I don't put realistic data in these things because then it stands out. I don't want this to mimic the actual behavior of the application. I want it to be testing the functionality. I've been playing with Olama and AI run models locally. Not as good as the cloud options Quark. No, no, it won't be. It's unless you've got some significant hardware locally. I believe it's pretty much, you know, from the tests. There's not much I'm validating here. Tests on the integration just begin. Off I go. Love to see you, Mr. Grumpy. Thank you very much for coming out for a bit. Appreciate it. After yourself. I'll catch you again soon. Have a great rest of your evening. So, yeah, again, those tests are pretty much I send it in, I capture it, and it can go wrong. It can definitely go wrong. So that they do have value. So what I've normally done is I've kind of set up the basics of the test because if the testing structure's there, it's not hard later on to go through and add those tests. Or if I find a case where there's some quirky behavior, that will trigger me to need the test. But because they're already set up to do it, it will be much easier to do later rather than, oh, I don't want to do this, but I might as well just hack at the code or whatever because there's testing in place. You know, that will set me up for failure if I do it that way. As always, if you have not been in the stream before, or whether you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, more than welcome to join in. You're more than welcome to push back on my opinions and my ideas. I'm a genuine believer in I only learn, I only get better um, from being around people that do this thing, right? So always happy to share and grow. Update unit tests for pay for initiative. Big time. What did everyone learn today? I can't share mine in public. Actually, no, I did learn something today, and it is worth sharing. So I've used this pattern I've been using for this phase. Right. Um, last Hail and GitLab. GitLab. I'm the Geek. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out. Appreciate it. As well. So I have learned tonight or today. So a while ago, I built this sprint stars, and I kind of refer to this as like an advanced enum. Um, um, when I was asking AI about this, I wanted to understand the pattern. I was like, is this a solid pattern? Because I like this style, right? I don't like passing numbers around. I like passing descriptive values around. So I created this a while ago. And AI would refer to it as a strongly typed enumeration. Um, I called it an advanced enumeration. Manets, thank you very much for the sub. Appreciate that. I call this an advanced enumeration, and basically, this enumeration base class is just a wrapper around the comparison and the fields behavior, so it can give you the list of them, which is then makes this possible, right? You can just check it. And this allows me to cast between strings, etc. And I like this because it means that you don't end up with zeros, ones, etc. So this is a strongly typed enumeration, and I like building this style. And in the code, it is used as, I can use it just like an enum. I can test if I can transition to it. That's one of the things that I've in this particular uh, piece. I can wrap that behavior in it. Yeah, that's what I learned today. Um, so strongly typed enumeration. Oh yeah, okay, that's because uh, correctly namespace print pass. Push that. Okay, so we're almost there. We're almost done with this particular feature, surprisingly. So we're going to go over here. Like that, yeah. Oh, by the way, I did add a little splash of color into the header if you didn't know yet. It's funny because Dota mentioned it today, and I kind of dismissed it at that point. But Dota had mentioned it the other day about adding maybe some color up there. It wasn't deliberate, but I asked for another design on something else, and it gave me a new header with these colors. I was like, "Ooh, I like that." So I went through the effort of getting it to colorize, and it's a little taller than it was, a little less compressed, not as big as the AI as Figma did it, but not that one. There you go. I was actually going for a color palette for these eventually. Um, it was something created a design. It put the colors in place. Then I was like, "Oh, let's do this now." I like the idea. Um, but I'm not sure I like this anymore. But I like that. So now I have that. Okay, so let's go back to initiatives, backlog, um, implement status. So we have that. Um, backlog. No, boards. How to use your own product. Uh, update publishing. So this one was done. So update the initiative Kafka message. So we did that. We tested that part. Capture status on view. Once published, we need to record the status, include the status column in the initiatives view. See, I kept calling it status. This is probably why I'm getting screwed up with the word phase. But phase is the correct word. It's not just a status. Update the receiver, update the handler, update the initiative view to include the status property. Now, fun fact, because it already modified this, view. It's done part of this work already, which is rough. Update the view model to include the property. This should be the enum value, not the label, as the client will translate. So, yeah, so this one goes into in progress. Update publishing can go over there. I'm 50% of the way through this. And what I mean by that is, let's test. So in the view, where this gets really confusing. The view has two sides, the views and the views. Again, always open to a naming suggestion here. But I don't want to call it GraphQL side because that would be poor name. That's the technology, not the actual design. The idea of this is the presentable data, the presentation, the whatever it is. And then I use SQL views in here to bring together the objects that I expose through GraphQL. Benefit of that is I can't actually expose any of the write behaviors of the database, because even though I'm bringing this layer, this is one of the more confusing things, is this database stuff is brought right through into the view itself, the DB context and everything, because that's how GraphQL functions best. But I can't accidentally expose a write behavior. So yes, the worst that you could do is change the viewable data if you got into that. You wouldn't change the backend data because you don't have access to that in any way, shape, or form. You only can write to that from the APIs. But you only get the view side. But that's made it very complicated. The view, and then in view I have view, and these are the objects that are output there. So you can see phase does not exist on this yet. So I need to introduce public string phase. Again, can't be null, has to be set. If it lets me do that. What we'll do here is we'll start up Nitro. Nitro is the GraphQL. GraphQL app. We'll pull out our token. Copy string content. Organization. Make sure that's there. Oh, phase. That. Phase. Okay, so now what should happen is when I refresh this view, exploring. Although I did move that from the query, so that might be a default thing. Initiative, phase. It made one more change, and I didn't want to change it yet because I didn't want to break the GraphQL side. And that's left me a bit stuck. This is the one downside to having AI generate a lot of this stuff. I'm going to have to, at some point, ask the tools please point me in the direction of where the code lies. That's going to be challenging. That's already so. That's already querying for phase. Validate that with payload. See, the query came back with the phase. So we already want. So now we're asking for phase, we're getting phase back. That's awesome. So our backlog, everything's exploring. Station. For some reason, this mouse is really not. I have a trackball mouse, a ProtoArch mouse, which if you've never used one before, I would highly recommend. The reduction in stress on my wrist is amazing since getting these. I even game on one of these now. Not first person shoot, bad at them, but the only downside is if you get sticky hands, it's humid. That ball just feels awkward. Okay, so boards. So in here, include the status column, update the receiver to pass through status, update handler to record, update initiative view to include the status, update the view model to include the property. This should be enum value, not the playing exploring in the capital. And the phase here has exploring. This is actually the only one that has the label. This value is the only thing that's passed up through the server. The label is completely client side. And again, I have a design problem in that if I want to drive these off the server, and this is worth thinking about how you would do this, by the way. If I was to drive this off the server, who owns this value? Because there's rules based around this, right? So there'll be, hey, this initiative can't translate to this phase. Like an initiative can go from exploring to cancelled. An initiative can go from exploring to um, um, uh, brain committed. An initiative can go from committed to in progress, and an initiative can go from in progress to or committed to cancelled. So there's rules around what it can and cannot do. But if I want to drive that off the server, how do I get those things there? How, like, especially as they are objects right this second. If they were database back, that'd be a little simpler because you say, hey, I've updated this, publish it. But they're not. And in this case, it's not something that I want to expose an API on the specific module around. So, interesting challenge. If anyone's got an answer for that, I would love to know it. Okay, so we technically, no, we not technically, we have actually done that one. Station, boards, one. We've checked these boxes, right? We've validated, we included it, we updated the receiver, we updated the handler, we updated the initiative, we updated the view model. We're done. That one's done. Null says basically this is a non-nullable value, but right now it's okay to be null, but it won't be null eventually when you set the object. It'll throw up on you. So it's kind of like a trust me. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, and technically I just did this update it. So I've done that. What's there's a name for it. I never learn the proper names. all-forgiving operator is what it is referred to as. It's but it basically means, yeah, I'll it's null right now, but it won't be later. So initial status is part one of this, right? When the initiative is created, the status should be set to exploring. Um, we now have uh, further requirement status. So we don't have the ability to edit initiatives yet. This one might be a little bit harder. Um, title. Um, press. As a product owner. We'll go with owner for a second. I should be able to transition the div um, committed. On the product manager. Review that on the third. The implement status initiative. We can remove that if we want to, but fine. There's no business justification reason by the second. Business justification is, again, as we move forward through this, business justification is an alignment to say, oh, this is revenue generating, this is a promise, this is whatever. And the idea would be that the weight of the risk would be attached to those things. So helping people see that's interesting. Yeah. That's one requirement. Yeah, it's fine. It's on the truth. Um, so progressing the initiative phase. What will this involve? Um, this will involve. Oh, I can edit it. Ah, status. I can edit the status. No, that's planning. That's, I've got it a little too close. Fine. Can't edit the initiative. Okay, so I need to edit the initiative. So what I want to do here, edit if I want to edit the initiative exclusive of the phase. What do I want to do it? Because I have to put rules around that, right? I can't. Again, I can move an initiative to. I don't think it should be editing it. I think it should be exclusive. It's an action. What would that look like? I think we want to click it. We're going to do it this way. What we're going to do is we're going to take a screenshot. Create a new Figma make. And again, to the point of using AI, right? This is where I'm using AI a lot more. I'm finding it very useful to move me on something. Because right now, here's how this would look traditionally for me. I want to do exploring there. I want to be able to click that and make it drop down and give me the options that are available to me right now. And if I change it, I want to be able to say, um, no, if you change it, it transitions it to that phase. You can't transition back out, right? So I want it to prompt and say, "Yep, are you sure?" You can't go back to exploring. Um, Maybe there's some rules around that later, but again, I'd want that behavior. Now, how would I do that? I have no idea. I have no idea how I'm going to implement that. I have no idea how I'm going to achieve that. That is just a nightmare for me to figure out. So, and it will take me a long time. It'll divert me from the coding pieces. So, what I do is I'll go and use Figma Make. I pay for Figma for a year. Um, the AI costs are racking up, but it is helping me. But I'll take that screenshot and I'll post it in. I want to be able to transition from the exploring phase to further phase. From exploring, there are two phases. Um, yes. So, fun fact: another experiment I did on the weekend. I think I was telling you about this. Is I actually just was in Claude, and I've got the MCP inside. So I said, "Hey, could you just go and come up with a design in Figma?" Um, yeah, go ask Figma, and I want a design to capture the games and track the games, etc. And it went off to Figma, created a design, implemented it, and came back, and that was it. And I didn't actually have to open this. The downside is it didn't make that very obvious where that was for me. Um, Controlling this seems to be a bit difficult, but it worked. It certainly did work. And if I'd have kept inside of that, I probably would have been able to evolve it a little bit. But I didn't want to run up both the tokens because Claude was taking a little bit longer to do it. And this has a finite number of tokens. Eventually, they're going to lock it down. And I think I've pretty much blown through the what would have been my allotment. Yeah. Yeah, I want to be able to transition from the exploring phase to a further phase. Exploring, there are two possible phases. So recently at work with Hey Claude, go from this Slack message to Jira, then to GitLab through MCP and implement. Yeah, every time I start up Claude, it's like, hey, do you want to connect to Google Mail? I'm like, no, I don't want you anywhere near my personal stuff. Stay away. And I worry about the Jira thing the same way. I know it can do stuff, and it can do a lot of things fast. I think I'm still in I mean, realistically, I'm using this in a prototyping phase, right? I'm not using this in this is a full production app phase. Um, and I realize that the code it's generated is not stunning in all cases. So, but it does accelerate you, it does get you where you need to be faster. Definitely see the appeal. I just worry about what happens when tools become too expensive. Exploring, there are two possible phases. Go ahead, make my day. Um, uh, Committed, cancel, or selecting on. Do we want to receive a confirmation? Because this information. So what we do is make it that only certain people will be allowed to do this because I did not. This is the sort of action that would trigger someone going, "Oh, I didn't mean to cancel it," and that's where you get. That's the sort of thing where you get another feature request from, right? So you say, "Oh, you can cancel. You can mark the initiative as cancelled." Oh, I didn't mean to cancel it. So you don't want to put it just as a simple toggle unless you can switch it back into that phase, right? And someone's going to come along and say either they want the ability to switch the phase back, which isn't the end of the world of the way I do it right now, but I want to kind of set that path forward. And then or someone's going to come along and say, well, I need to create an initiative from another initiative. So an entire clone feature comes out of nowhere because someone's like, uh, you know, I can't do this, therefore I need this extra feature. You got to be careful how you implement features. Back to exploring once cancelled is not possible. Cancelled or once progressed, possible. Okay, let's see how it does. So I did this last time I did this. Figma Make gave me options, gave me different designs to play with, and sadly, the design I liked the most was the very last one it came up with. Um, took a bit of trial and error. Nets, thank you for coming hanging out for a bit. Appreciate it. Thank you again once more for the sub. Very much appreciate it, and rest well. Catch you again sometime. If you haven't seen this before, what Figma Make is doing is building a little React app in the background. So this will actually produce all the code, and yeah, it will provide us our samples of how to do this thing. We'll see how it goes. Apparently, we could get severe thunderstorms soon. So yeah, this is going to be fun. So yeah, so what I'm looking to do here, or what I'm hoping for, is it to give me some sort of option where I can click this, it pops up the other options. I can hit transition, it'll say, hey, confirm, are you okay to move? This is a final. And you say, yeah, and it transitions. Um, the reason I want it to be a final state um, final state. The reason I want it to be a changeable state is that if I don't do that and you start working on the other things, the possibility of leaving something in that phase while doing this, because what I'd want to do is in exploring, I'd actually want to prevent deliverables from being added. I mean, you shouldn't be able to add them to an initiative that's not been marked as ready. It's not just a dumping ground. Um, and I am trying to develop an opinionated system. Um, so yeah, okay. So here we go. Option one: button group with modal, two prominent action buttons with a modal confirmation dialog. So we click on that. No. Oh, ready to progress this initiative. Choose to commit to this initiative or cancel it. This action cannot be undone. Commit to initiative. Yes, commit. Committed. Okay. Option two: single button that reveals options in a drop down. Best for minimal UI footprint. Change of phase. Okay. Working. Fix it for me. It's got bugs. Again, because the way it pieces together the samples, they don't always combine in the right order. And then it's like, okay, I got to fix that now. There we go. Okay. So we have option two. Nope, still not working, but I get the idea. It's a drop down. Oh, broke it again. This pause time, this wait time for me. Um, I know that I could have many agents working on many things at the same time. I could have things going off in parallel, and I get it. You can be kind of productive that way, but again, I don't trust the output that much. I think I'm using it well enough for my use case right this second and my comfort level. But there you go. Auto fixing errors. And if you are new to the stream, if you have any thoughts, questions, opinions, feel free. Join in. You can. I'm working hard on the app, but it doesn't can't can't learn new things or do new things to go. So exploring. So progress initial phase, initiative phase. Finding this. This is a weird side effect. A weird bug. If I refresh it, the button will be there. Um, add button. Yes, yes, it's that funny looking Microsoft PHP. See the button appears now, and just did. I've still yet to determine how to things like if I get that if you're watching this, if you're looking at this, how do I push updates to um, clients to say, hey, this initiative just got it, so there you go, push it real time. Um, how much data do I get? Did I not tell you about the new project we've got? You'll be working exclusively on brand new project just for you. Yeah. A requirement. Um, I should be able to select phase on to be that way. Be exclusive to you. Um, no documents, no documentation required though. I want to make it easy for anyone else to pick it up. Or you, buddy. The methods anything less than 500 lines, you're doing it wrong. Names. Why bother with names? Just use letters. And then when you get to the 26th one, just wall them up. Keep incrementing them. I want to be able to toggle progress, exploring, exploring. That's not the first time I've typed exploring. Exploring. to ads are going to start in 3 minutes. Committed or cancelled. Cancelled. Um, this action not reversible. I want prompt where can't undo this action. Methods is in plural now. Well, so that's that. Again, I'm trying to use the system. I'm trying to show the system being used the way I'm seeing it. Right. This is a bunch of behavior. Here's what I'm expecting from it. And now I'm going to add the tasks. Like, and this is exactly why having UI UX stuff before you actually go into things is very useful, right? Because having the idea of what you want will give you an idea of what you're building. If you have a I need a screen to do a thing, and you've got to go off and define that screen as you develop, then there's no bounds on what you're doing, right? No, that's phase one, so we can commit. Okay, phase two. You, um, only option one does something. Can't select option 3, 4, or 5. Option nothing works. Got it out. You've done so well at this recently, mate. Um, need to look at my database, but for my one to at least one problem. Can't have one to at least. You can't define it. You can't enforce it, as far as I'm aware. Love to learn if you can. It's a one to many relationship. Um, but look, Claude, while I'm waiting, can you define one to at least one relationship? Yeah, it's a business rule. Yeah, and you don't want to do that way. The best Claude can come up with is you want a foreign key relationship with either a trigger or an application level rule. You don't want to mess around with that. Oh yeah, it's an application level rule, and you can implement that. You can implement that kind of in um, entity framework by basically saying the owner is what you could do is on your requirement, you say, no, no. They've got collaborators, right? I could default a collaborator on the first one. So if I make this list default and then save the object, it will save, because the relationship's mapped, it would save that related object for me. So you can do it. Or tell me something about using funk, wrapping it. Interesting. Specification would make sense. I haven't used specifications for many rights yet, but it would kind of make sense in terms of behavior. all the nights for Claude for Figma Make to do is worrying. Giving it too much to think about. Ugh. Man. But again, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to figure out what I want it to look like, because when I know what I want it to look like, I can decide the behavior on the side. Okay, here we go. Okay, I can select the other options. Okay, so we have option one, which is the button, commit to initiative. That's not really not bad, because I'm thinking of it as a drop down state, but if these buttons appear based upon the current status, that's not the worst thing, right? So again, what's going to happen is when I'm in exploring, I can transition it to committed or cancelled. When I'm in committed, I don't transition it from there till it's transitioned through the other phase. I can cancel it still, um, but the other phases have to be automatic, right? So the in planning, once the deliverables um, move to in planning, or once work begins on the deliverables, then the transition will be automatic. So when I add an initiative, add an deliverable or update the deliverable, it will transition the in planning state. Similarly, once those deliverables move to an implementation, this would trigger to move to in progress. And there's a lot of cascading effects here. The events system is going to get a real workout in these things, because this system is going to be reacting to the events and changing these statuses. So it's going to get very noisy very quick once this starts to happen. And then um, once it's got to in progress, they get to choose where it's completed. Right? And I think once it's got to in progress, cancel kind of goes away. You might mark it as completed, but you and not have anything finished in it, but you don't think you want cancelled. Actually, need to. Um, and I wouldn't expect you to resurrect one. Paul originally recommended aggregate roots, but when I pushed back on it, it gave me projected and composable. So that's what I wanted to read upon. That's one of the big problems with using AI for these things. A simple concept getting way too overcomplicated. Go into aggregate roots and domain objects in a system that is not driven around it will not add value. It will make it harder to. It can be a lot simpler. Projections are something that we recently labeled something. Well, option two is the phase. It still doesn't work. Oh, it breaks it. Actually, huh. Projections are querying out of the database another object that combines the things. So um, we recently did that in something else where there was several tables combined to result in an object that represents settings, and that's a projection, right? That's not there's no actual database object there, but the projection is what you represent. That's kind of where Claude would go, I would imagine. But aggregate roots and oh, too much. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with it. Terrible. Okay, well, let's make some progress. We're going into here. I should be able to select the next phase. I'm about to select from, be able to progress from exploring to committed or cancelled. But it's not actually the bad idea to put the ones there, which is a projection, essentially. That's the same thing, just a projection. Okay, option 3. It just kills it outright. It just breaks. I figured that would be fun, so I figured it just takes your patience, but it's fine. Better to represent what it is. One of the things I was reminded of today is what was I listening to? What was I watching? I was listening to my architecture book, and then I was recently revisiting Eric Evans' Main Driven Design book, and that doubting myself now where I had heard this today. But either way, the point made in there was not that you should go up and design everything up front and figure out all the objects. The domain evolves, and you should um, you should be willing to adapt and learn and grow and change. Right? That's that's exactly how I'm treating this. Right? I'm not saying that these are necessarily full domain boundaries. Right? In here, right now they fit and they work in these boundaries, but ultimately they might shift around. And I'm fully willing and prepared and practiced at moving these objects around. Right? Labeling them, planning tasks. Right? Planning is a thing. Planning was planning items. Planning is now just planning, and initiatives and deliverables live in planning, whereas tasks and sprints and those things live in their own components because there's a set of behaviors around those things. And I'm evolving that. Ultimately, tasks might become implementation, right? And you have tasks as an actual thing of implementation. Um, I might combine them. I might expand them. There's all sorts of possibilities there. But the reality is, you shouldn't try and define. If you try and define the domain up front, you will create artificial boundaries, and you'll see things that aren't there. Whereas exploring the domain, understanding the use cases, will help you understand how these things. So there's a good reminder that the thing in that book said that on close that down, close that down, close this. I think there was an update. This is where I learned I can't bring it back. Um, Ah, not that one. Kaizu branding. Oh, uh-oh. Bosses or projects. Not bring back your make files? That's terrible. Oh, there you go. You can bring it. Okay. Option 3. Option 4. Change phase. Option 5. Commit to initiative. Go back. I think it might just be buttons, you know. It might just land as buttons. So this yellow border, by the way, means that Claude has hold of it. So if I want Claude to control it, I can tell Claude to it. Implement status. I think displaying. I think displaying the right buttons for behaviors you can have because you can't. You can cancel initiative right up until the point it's in progress. At this point, you can't cancel it. You can only complete it because you might just give up on the work early. It can't be cancelled if the stuff's done. Or can it? Nothing says you have to deliver any of the work. You can cancel it right up until the point stuff is delivered. Okay. Really? You're going to struggle on this one, aren't you, tonight? Oh well. Delivery is overrated. In a podcast, say delete the backlog. I've yet to listen to that. Does it give any context of how far back in the backlog, or does it just say delete the backlog and just do what you're going to do in the next sprint? The old waterfall way of doing software development. Still broken. Fix for me. I think I've got the AI in a loop. I think it's fixing itself to break itself to fix itself to break itself. One more time. I see the issue. Of course, you see the issue. Because now you're going to change that and break other things, and then you're going to see, oh, I see the issue. Fix that, break that. Look in the loop. Doesn't do it this time. I'll revert to. Yeah. Oh, damn. More pragmatic. I'm not. Basically says people think they're going to get that backlog out for 300 of those in the backlog. Right. Okay. So it's in the backlog. I didn't. There's not. Just be realistic about what you're actually going to trim the stuff out that you don't. It, again, it's like technical debt. If you fill your backlog full of technical debt, Do you feel like it did suggest delete and start over? Yeah, I think if you're in a good enough planning phase, planning cycle, you basically build up what you need to do in the next couple of sprints. Every couple of days, meet, refine them, find the items, um, trim them down, and then anything that's not within the next couple of weeks of work that you know that you haven't touched, I can kind of agree with deleting that. Um, but yeah, experience will you in interesting places. Okay, we're gonna do this way. We're gonna do initiative from the exploring phase and be positioned to to we'll worry about rules around can cancel. If you cancel the initiative, you can't add deliverables, etc. I'm sure it would help if the battle wasn't treated like an ideas board. Well, that's what I'm saying about technical debt. That you've got to be careful because technical debt becomes an ideas board, or a wishes and hopes and dreams board. And in reality, you've got to get to a place of fixing stuff. But this is the constant fight, right? We've got to be, and it's a lot of teams have this sort of problem where they can't get out their own way because everything they do makes more mess, which makes it harder to track what they're doing, which makes it harder to do stuff, which makes it harder. It's a cycle that you've got to break somehow. Um, yeah, who's the you the I've heard that before. Heard that before. I don't know if it was you that brought that up before. Transitioning to the internet. Yeah, but I have heard that before. Phase button something like dialogue software accountant. Now this is This will be interesting if it's picked up on what it did in the past. Those ideas might go into this design now. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this to design something. I'm then going to go over to Claude and give it the reference to this document and say, I want you to implement this, um, and we'll build on that, right? Um, this is where it's going to start getting more interesting for me because I'm actually going to be introducing more rules. So if you move it to cancelled, the add button deliverables can't appear. Right? You can't add a deliverable if you're doing that. And similarly, the behavior on the other side should be any cancelled initiatives eventually. Um, that's oh, we're rendering. There we go. And I don't. Ready to ready to transition. This action is irreversible. Don't like those like that. Not Kaizu. Reference. Cores are completely inconsistent. Fine. Again, I'm trying to learn how to direct this, right? How to give it information it needs and not give it too much. Um, buttons. Um, yeah, I'm trying to learn my way around how to ask it the right things, how to give it enough context, how to not, because I know that this isn't keeping context with the design overall, but at the same time, I do want to kind of keep my design from differing every time I introduce a new Figma piece. It's like, oh well, I want to change this. I want to change the fonts. I want to change the styling. I've been working hard to make sure that a consistent design has been created as I've gone through this, and now that's referenced. So if you look at um, planning a deliverable versus initiative, they look very consistent. They look the same. There's a business objective on an initiative, and a goal on a planning item. Um, yeah. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome in. We're just waiting for this design to come through. Update colors and button placement. Let's see what it comes up with now. Give me an action menu. Give me an action menu. It doesn't work. Fix me. I really don't want to pay for Restream, but TwitchBot, StreamerBot does not join the channels in the chat, and really kind of bad to have YouTube start talking and Twitch there. So for reference, I'm streaming to both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Fortunately, I do not have the join chats. Restream does not seem to want to work recently. So, but welcome in. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, I'm more than welcome to ask. Right this second, I am failing with AI, apparently. Um, um, Gave me action button, but no behavior. Missing something? Oh, it's really not having fun with this tonight, is it? We'll love 10 minutes, be right back. No worries, Mojo. Um, yeah, if you have any thoughts or opinions on what you're seeing, you're more than welcome to share. Happy to talk about what I'm doing, answer any questions. This is a large application that takes a while to explain. We're getting there. What I'm working on right now is introducing phases to initiatives, and I'm trying to figure out the best way of getting the transition from an exploring to a committed or a cancelled phase. We'll worry about that behavior. Planning backlog, progress initiative phase. I should be able to select the next phase. I want to be able to progress from exploring to committed or cancelled. This action should not be reversible. No prompt. Not do this. So kind of the acceptance criteria. I should not be able to add a deliverable to an initiative has been cancelled. Should not be able to position deliverable exploring committed. Ideally, I wouldn't want to allow you to add deliverables to an exploring. I think I'd want to force you to do that, but we'll get to that point later. I've got to be careful that I don't expand my ambition to tracking all sorts of use cases. It is okay to build upon the functionality here. I don't have to get all the answers out front. I just have to get the basics of the behavior. Um, so yeah, um, yeah. So let's make these bullet points. These are kind of acceptance criteria, right? Um, we'll get Markdown working again later. Oh, because I switched it away. Let's see if we can get that to work, actually. Because I realized that I've been screwing around with AI for a while now, so those UI frameworks that I had previously are completely gone. So I've lost a lot of behavior. Um, let's get the initiatives. Give phase period GraphQL and fetch from. Interesting fact there though, what that did is once I told it that I was going to work on the estimate on the actual initiative phase, it took away the random stuff. I didn't ask it to take the random stuff away. It just knew that I was going to get it from the server eventually. So it actually just made it default. So that would have actually created, if I hadn't been paying attention to what it was doing, that would have created a strange bug because I wouldn't have realized it until I came to this next piece. Yeah. Um, let's make a minor change. So what I'm going to do, this should, there we go. Okay. So I'm in Claude here. Let's clear this. Um, um, and we're just going to do the deliverable initiative, deliverable display boxes. Mars, good evening. How you doing? Initiatives, accept, markdown. You can leave now. Oh, you got another hour of the stream. You're good. I'm not finishing. I promise. I'm cutting the stream short just because you've joined. Okay, the initiatives and deliverables that set Markdown in their editors. This Markdown not being respected. There's a be removed. The prime components. Playing. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, the goal there will be very much to get the that behavior back. That that should be the prompt. You don't need to see the prompt working away. Basically, it's down on the screen to my left. I replaced my touchscreen because the Stream Deck lasted all of one stream before I was done with it. Use BTW to ask a quick side question without interrupting Claude's current work. Interesting flow. We'll get that working this eventually. Oh, weird. Work? No. Why is he struggling so much tonight? I have no idea. This is one of the worst parts I find. Is the fact that if I've got the AI tools off working on things, right, there's not much else I can do, especially in this world right this second where I am, because if it's going to make AI change, UI changes, not AI changes, it's going to make UI changes, can't really stop this running. Um, the only way I could do that is if I actually put a version of the application um, into another directory that I could run just the view component of at the same time, and I could build all the rest independently, which wouldn't. It would be weird. Like I could, in theory, leave the view part running, but then I'm going to have conflicts and still don't work. Why? Why is this not working? Do this. Let's go to um over there. Okay, so this says it did what it should have done. It completely did not. Both components now render their Markdown using the Markdown component. Business objective. No, not business objective. Renders via Markdown. Goodness me. Is it? No, no. That's a good point. What it didn't call me out on there is the fact that business objective does not need Markdown, right? Markdown data. The hat definitely doesn't. I don't have a description field displayed right this second on initiative. Roll back. Right. This, however, no, that's the goal. That is not good. Um, actually, it's actually my fault. I'm thinking of deliverable. This um, requirements field, description field, accept markdown, the editor. This markdown is not being respected because I think we removed primary G capacity. Displaying the details, let's put the, yeah, let's repeat that effort. What I did there was I wiped out the initiatives and deliverables phase because these don't actually, the initiative does have a description attached to it. I'm not displaying it right this second. That's an oversight. But the deliverable itself does not have a description. The deliverable defines is defined by its requirements, not by any extra text. So the deliverable is parameters around that, such as the projects it's assigned to, what the business justification for this particular deliverable is. The risk is a calculated field. The review date is a field that is set to make sure that we look at this thing at the right time. Yeah. And ads are going to start in 1 minute. Apologize. I'll turn them off. Love to. If there's any more progress. Well, that's what I was going to do, right? I was going to open it up in Chrome and see if it changed it. Recent transition to phase. Not showing me a preview on this either. I'm wondering if it's even going to work on here. Oh, no, it does. Okay, we're going to go back to Figma Web now. So here, commit to initiative, cancel initiative. I still don't like them. The ellipsis. Is the ellipsis button easiest and most intuitive way to let's ask it the question at least, right? And I'm open to opinions. If you have opinions and you're watching, if you have opinions on how you would do that, I'd be interested to know. You're absolutely right to question that. For such critical workflow actions that determine the next phase of an initiative, hiding them in a menu isn't ideal. These are primary actions users need to discover easily, not secondary options. That feels really clunky though. Confirm commitment. No, I have commitment issues. Cancel initiative. Like, I don't mind the dialogue. I just don't feel that that is the cleanest. Um, is there a control that allows me to click flooring? Um, Hill fence. I'm not. I'm not quite sure that's even the best. Which description field isn't rendering the requirements intended outcome field? Tony, hello. How you doing? How are things? Transition to. Okay, I prefer that, I suppose. What about you? Similar. Similar. Can't tell whether it's the weather or what, but I have a growing headache. Get all the way through this. Toggle cam when? Never, because you redeem last. I don't know. Fun fact as well, if I did have a doggo cam on these evening streams, it would be completely useless because the dogs won't come and sit in my room when everyone else is home. And I'm not putting a camera in my living room. I've got a collapse near the desk. Get rid of it, make some space. So I can even think about doggo cam. I'll certainly try. Alex, hello. Evening. Thank you very much for the raid. Nameless Coda, thank you for the follow. How is everyone? Hopefully well. If there's a treat redeem. Been checked out Alex before. Highly recommend going and checking out his stream. Lots of very interesting game things, hot stuff, great things to check out and have some fun. So well, actually, I had a wonderful time being a wizard in Noita and then doing some game dev. Things are good on my end. I'm hi Hispanic Cuba, how you doing? Welcome in. If you're odd, Nameless Coda, thank you for the follow again. Amazing, I could do that from the regular mobile app. Yeah. So I've been making great progress on my app the last couple of weeks. Right now we're working on the initiatives phase. So transitioning between so when you first start an initiative, it's in an exploring phase. You're obviously not defining deliverables, etc. And then when you want to progress, so these deliverables you wouldn't be able to add when it's in exploring phase, because the idea is you're trying to gather what it is you want to build. Do you want to do this? Doing the research on establishing those things. And then when you're ready, you transition it into a committed phase that says, yep, I'm actually going to work on this thing. And then you can define the deliverables. Deliverables are an non-time boxed chunk of work that can be done. And for an initiative, for a deliverable, you specify the requirements, and then the development side, you attach the tasks to requirements. I don't remember how much of this was working last time you were in here, but I can then go into the boards, working on the styling, and I can track the work that I'm doing through the boards in my backlog happening. So what I was just doing in the background was having the robot overlords. There we go. Markdown's now being respected. Sweet. So we've now got Markdown respected. Um, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah. I don't like Jira. This is my opinionated. A Here's how you deliver software um, world. So this is the product owner, the product manager would be defining the requirements, specifying what they want to see, how they want to see it, and then the devs come along and say, okay, I mean, in this current version, the tasks are added here, but I actually do have an intent of having um, a kind of implementation side. Hey, by the way, these things are available for you to plan. Um, this is .NET. The backend is all .NET. There is a large distributed system going on, which looks like drawing architecture overview. Looks like that. There's a .NET backend using Kafka, Postgres now. I just transitioned to Postgres last week from SQL Server and MongoDB, and then the front end is Angular. Um, um, I really like this. It feels like the project itself becomes sort of an order to be fulfilled and documented. Yeah, yeah. And the backend tooling is actually Next.js and the similar tech stack there. There's two parts. There's a control tower app, which manages subscriptions and things like that for the users. For the users of the application, the companies, essentially, the tenants, and then the end app. So yes, I'm right now. I'm trying to use the tool to plan the tool at the same time, which is going to make a mess, but it is kind of getting the ideas there. And what I'm tinkering with right this second is um, trying to get a design that works to transition this next phase. So the idea is, and again, in an opinionated world, um, the idea is that you can transition from exploring to committed or exploring to cancelled if you don't want to do the initiative. Like you've done the exploration part, you think it's not worth it, you just cancel it. Um, Once you've committed to it, you can now add deliverables to it. And once those deliverables actually start being worked upon, this will transition into an in progress or an in planning phase. And once the work for those deliverables transitions, this will automatically transition into an in progress stage. So you won't be able to cancel it once work. I was just kind of mentioning that. I'm thinking that once work has been completed and delivered to production, you can't cancel the initiative. You can only complete. So figuring out those phases is going to be fun. And then planning again will have a similar phase of um, nice. I actually tried that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So you don't want to lose the fact that you did it. You don't want to hide that fact. It's work that was done. Whether you completed everything in an initiative is not the problem. The problem is you saying, yeah, we're finished with this. We don't want to do it. So, and the goal of this project is very much, the goal of this tool is very much to track from initiative through delivery, right? So, um, I definitely want to make a rich delivery aspect to this so that not only implementation is the development phase, but a board can be a transition as well. So if you have a QA team, I want you to have the option of having like these swim lanes will be configurable. I think that's a standard practice. I think that's a fair practice, but I want the option to say once it marks as complete here, this ticket will appear on someone else's ready for processing board. So kind of allowing people to know that it's still in progress. It's just transitioning through. Yeah. So you have QA separate as a team, you can do it that way. QA is part of the same team, then you'd have a QA complete and it'd be moved on. But again, making these tasks workable, you can deliver pieces of this, right? Delivery can be, again, coming soon. Delivery can be it's in testing, or delivery can be it's actually in production. Trying to provide that visibility is a big thing for me. I don't want to be in this world of no one knows where things are. I want complete transparency for everyone, so oh, this initiative, it's 50% done. It's due. We expect it to be done by March 24th, but kind of off track because things aren't going as fast as we want. So yeah. As far as the stream goes, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to share. If you think it's a crazy idea, you don't like it, you think it's going in the wrong direction, I'm open to listening to those sorts of things. I like that sort of conversation. I think it very much helps. I'm not streaming to be validated. I'm streaming to learn and grow at the same time, right? Um, I've done software development for a long time. Doesn't mean I know everything. Doesn't mean I can't learn anything from other people. So I'm always open to conversation on stream. Coding is a nice to do on stream, but not necessarily a must do. Um, this very much feels like a thoughtful workflow for project organization and management projected into the tool. Well, it's years of going, it's years of going through pain of trying to deliver projects through tools like Jira has. Multi-out, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome in. I would love to say this is just kind of a naive, hey, I think I can do it better tool, but it's more a what would I do if I could do that? Also, can I play around with technology? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's events all over the place. It's been blossoming quite nicely. Then I do have to run, so unfortunately, I can't stay for longer. Love the progress. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the raid. Have a great rest of your night. I always forget to say the thing that if you're raiding and running, that's perfectly fine. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging around. Take care, man. So, okay. So at this point, um, in terms of the AI discussion, which has to come, right? Um, I'm using AI for a lot of the UI because the UI is my weakest. So I accept that. I'm fully okay with that. I've been using Figma to do the design, and um, then I'm using Claude to do the coding. So I think we're going to go with this one. But what I need to do now is I need to copy this link. Right? I can tell Claude to connect, but it's a little messier to try and find this make file. Then what I'll do is I will bring up prompt, and then we're going to clear that context. Make sure that work is this. Return markdown rendering to the deliverable to the requirement else. Interesting that typography got brought in there, but we'll accept it for now. I have to do a Angular update soon as well. So yeah, that was basically being able to do markdown on these. So I'll so we can acceptance criteria. Still thinking whether I want to do acceptance criteria as an actual explicit thing attached to these things, so you can kind of check them off and review them. Yeah, I have lots of ideas, not enough time to do everything. So on the back end, I do all the coding. The app is distributed, broken into modules. It's quite a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that Figma make, but then going to go over to here, a reference. No, copy that link, which apparently didn't copy. Reference. Copy link. Reference. I want to use the behavior. When the Foreign phase. Offered. And um, committed. Cancelled. Phases. Warning pop up. Did not pop up. Action. Okay. While that's doing that, turn that off. We're going to see what it introduces there. What I need to do is start planning on the back end. What steps do I need to take? Very interesting one because it's going to refresh the screen. So um, we're going to need a update and initiative. I can update phase of the initiative will be updated independently of details. I haven't introduced update initiative, that's all yet. It is standalone. This will be an interesting one from an action perspective because I'm not quite sure where this is going to go. This is one of the first new endpoints I've actually introduced in a while, potentially, maybe. But I've been kind of following RESTful a little bit on the verb side, not on the actual full RESTful API thing, but I've been aligning to verbs where possible. Not always easy though. When I update, this is not a requirement. This is an actual task. This is a development task. It can be technical. It's fine. Just realized that was in edit mode, which means that might have actually done stuff. Phase issue can be updated independently. Details. Create endpoint. Phase. Phase. Use. Date. Div handler. Could verify. Phase. That will assign it to punch. We can update the phase. I should not be able to add a deliverable to an initiative that has been cancelled. Disable. Disable button. Cancelled. So the code we did before at the beginning of the stream to get the initiative to go through the entire flow, all that should still be intact. None of that should need to change now. That behavior is in this. Initiative status will not need to be explicitly stated here. Update UI. Cancel phase. Um, I should not be able to add a should not be able to transition to a deliverable to exploring, cancelled, or committed. Um, that's a little harder to define as an actual task. Um, that might live in there. Because ultimately it means that if I've transitioned it to exploring, the menu goes away. So now we go to implementation, backlog. These are ready for development. These are completed. That's fine. Task should be functional. So I can filter it by team. In this case, team punches the team. That should be functional. That's the best one. Only travel in one direction. Yes. Update the phase of initiative estimate. Create an endpoint. Introduce update initiative phase handler. Should verify can be transitioned. Update phase of initiative. I'd say that's a 3. Let's do. The back was phasing late. If that's actually required. I think the phases can just go forward. I think they genuinely are phases. We can look at those use cases later. So right now I can build it around one assumption. And if it can be transitioned, then it's changing those rules. Update UI. So we're starting to get into the actual behavior of the application. We're now getting into the point where this becomes more than just CRUD because there's actual behaviors associated with the actual system. Um, what you'll start to see over the next couple of weeks is as I change the phase of something, like if I transition a deliverable into a certain phase or into a certain status, that can be transitioned. Then it will affect the phase of this, and it will react and switch this phase, and then that'll publish events and behaviors are triggered. Update UI when initiative is cancelled phase. Button for add deliverable is not enabled. So I think that's all. That's assigned to Alan. One. Those are those 2 stories right this second. Go down there. So it's coming together. Definitely, it's coming together. Just waiting for this now. So now I've let the AI do its job. It said, "Here's what I'm going to do. Add a message." He called this get stats badge as well. My language creeping through there. Oh, here we go. Here it does. Well, I know people have definitely been checking out the stream. My average view duration on YouTube is 1 minute. Over 2.5 hours. That's pretty good. All the past streams are uploaded to YouTube as well. So if you want to go back and see how things have progressed, how things have changed, you're more than welcome to do that. The link is in the cards below. Some 200 something streams. So not all this, but for the most part, those are this. I suppose that gives me an idea of how much time I've actually spent on it. Oh, here we go. That button looks horrendous. I think we're going to increase the size of this button. At least see Claude interpreted that, because if we look at the design that Figma gave us, Figma just gave us that. Didn't do any visual indicator. Claude took that and said, "Well, hold on. That needs a visual indicator. But I don't like that the buttons are getting smaller. That's something I have to work on. They feel clunky. Okay, build succeeds with no errors, so we can do that. Go to committed. I don't like the fact that this goes away and stops being. So would like to make the button phase larger, clearer, similar in size. Also, when I hover over the phases, a few things I don't like about that. It goes away. Like you can't tell. Like I would have a hover effect to indicate that you can click this because they just look like badges. Cancel this, it will no longer be considered. Oh, there we go. I like that. There we go. That looks better. I was bullying someone at work today about having two browser tabs open and five view. One or two, right? There we go. Okay. There we go. That's a bit better. Not ideal, but it's better. It indicates at least, right? So we're on good ground there. So when we go to committed, yeah. How does that feel? Committed, cancel, cancelled initiative. Don't need. We don't need the robot to go off and do that for us. You know, we just need to find out where that part is. Oh, in on version controls. There you go. You'll put. Oh, you do. Uh oh. Transition to buttons. Option label. Option label. Committed. Cancel. Cancel initiative. Oh, that's a dank. So that becomes commit to, move to committed. That's just, oh, they both can be moved to. That's the problem. They both can be moved to. uh, Cancel. That's fine. Exploring, move to cancelled. The word cancel was getting like, that was worrying me there. Because this feels like an action, but well, it is an action, but it's like, well, move to cancelled, move to commit. Okay. Cancelled. How much did it wire up there? Oh, it went all the way through to API initiatives patch. Ah, interesting. That kind of answers one of the questions in the back end. I can't commit that yet because I need to test that. I need it there. Let's go over here. I mean, technically, if I was doing this, by the way, this I've delivered value by initiative by doing this. So I could deliver the initiative status as it is, right? This next piece, transitioning status, is technically a completely different story. I'm not going to branch between stories constantly here because it just makes my life more difficult. But if I was in an actual environment of working with a team, then I might want to consider getting this rolled out and done and delivered because someone else might be doing some else with initiatives or whatever. So is not it's not ideal, this path, but it's the best path I have for right now. That I'm not constantly turning on builds or commits. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's see how much of this. Again, planning features in it. I'm starting to move away from the endpoints word, features to describe what I'm doing. This is interesting because now I'm getting back to an HTTP verb. So here I have add, delete, update on requirements. They use etc. How does a patch work here? How do I determine that I want to transition to a different phase versus, because in my mind I have, what, I'm going to receive a update to phase. Ask the tool. Pod.ai. Evening, Terry. There it turns. Um, uh, have an action form against uh, but essentially I'm updating a single field. Now, see, let's see what it says. This is how I've been doing using AI a lot recently. Is learning more about the how I might design these things, so I can kind of yeah, there we go. That's how I was thinking of doing it. This is a great DDD moment worth flagging. What you're describing aren't really field updates, they're distinct domain actions with different business intent. The fact that one action touches one field and another touches different fields is a symptom of that, not the definition. The DDD lens, instead of thinking patch entity with field X versus patch entity with fields Y, think in terms of named commands. That's what I was thinking. Each maps to a domain operation data mutation. These can all be put, even if they only touch one field under the hood. There we go. That's where I was thinking. So that's an interesting challenge. If I wasn't paying attention to what that did, right? I wasn't paying attention to this behavior. When would I have known? Because it's not like I produced the API as a the consumable um, resource to this client because it's all behind the gateway. So there is no one API for updates. So that's something to consider. It's also, again, if I was developing this for real, I would be developing with another person. That person would be doing the front end, and we'd agree upon the um, on the contract. This isn't the hardest thing in the world to do. I can fix this myself by just making that a put, and then put that as um, days. That's what that's saying. Days, ship, etc. And what I'll do is I'll do um, transition phase, and that's my action. That works. I'm okay with that one. Actually, we're in another territory. I suppose we're not, but we're fine. Yeah, okay. That's going to return okay or bad request. Public class parameters, public phase, forgiving, initiatives, period, slash, phase. No, transition is the action. That's the domain action. Initiative edit. Actually, we can do permissions. We can type this all better. Update. Oh, we don't have update initiative yet. So what we do is we go to shared entity, user permissions. We're going to add create initiative, add another public static, read only permission, update. We're not going to make it an explicit behavior at this point. Not grid.parse. And grid. That'll do. Planning. Update. Update. Okay. That. Do. Update. Diff. Override. Execute. Okay. Just stubbing out the basics of this right this second. Got to get that part working. So the way I'm going to do this is the permission I just added is a hard coded value. By the way, when the system starts up, the services that have references to that will update their permission set so that the data will flow properly. So they actually do pull from that object. So this gives me the way to manage the permissions across the application, a hard coded yet flexible manner, so that I just need to make sure that any system that needs specific knowledge of the permissions, such as the view, so the view can list them. Yeah, I want that permission. The identity service itself, and tenant management. Tenant management is used because when a user is initialized, it gives them every permission. This way, going forward, if I add a new permission to the system, it would require that you tell the administrators of the system, oh, by the way, there's new permissions available. I want to go check them. Yeah, and if you have any questions on, please feel free. So that's our transition phase. Again, that means permission, added permission, or oh, did I really miss that? Oh, add phase. That before. Phase. I'm calling that transition because it's not commit or cancel. It could be commit or cancel. I could make them explicit. It's a good point. Is it transition? Or is it commit? Actually, that's more descriptive, isn't it? Yes, I like them more. Actually, that doesn't. Hmm. That's that's that feels good. That feels good. I like that. We'll go with that. I think it's very important to develop by feel. It feels difficult if it feels like it's making you slow down or it's making you feel like you're forcing something into existence. Um, than you genuinely are. They generally are. And what I was thinking there is, oh, I've got to pass in the phase, and I can still put the validation in here. I could still potentially use the same handler if I wanted to, but I actually have an option to drive the system here. Um, just because it's a phase doesn't mean it can't be uh, initiatives. Um, it to again, it can be descriptive, public record command. Now this is going to be a GUID identifier. You can't use just user identifier because user identifier has the user could be attached to many tenants. You need the combination there of tenant user. GUID initiative identifier. I'm going to code out a bit of this. A command sort that, then public class handler repository of initiative. Again, I really should PDD this, but PDD is really kind of slow and boring on stream, and I can talk about this a little bit more directly. Going command. What we're going to do here is we're going to load initiative. Right? It definitely exists. It can't not exist. So we're going to throw if that's null for whatever reason, then we blow up the application. No reason to proceed. We're then going to um, call initiative dot transition to, then we're going to do committed essentially, and if that can't transition, that will turn an error. So if I do it that way, I don't want to return a result from that, but that owns whether it can or cannot transition. Actually, no, we don't need. We can do if initiative dot phase and transition to command dot oh, uh, yeah, and transition to um, initiative phase dot committed. Then we can do initiative that transition to. There you go. We can do something like that. And actually, it reads well. Yeah, because the phase is when it comes out the initiative is an actual initiative phase, and we will have the transition to behavior. So let me go and implement that part to finish up. That's a relatively simple part, and I deliberately removed it from this earlier. So to introduce another type to our enum here, we do initiative phase, and it's committed. What's new? Say committed, right? And I'm not going to introduce the others right this second. But what I did on the sprint status one is I introduced a new private read-only string array of can transition to, right? And then I introduced a string array transition to here, that, and to committed. And that can't commit to anything right this second. That can't transition to anything. So if it is committed and you try and commit again, it'll just do nothing, right? It won't allow you to do it. And I'll verify how I did it over here. So yeah, can transition to is on the thing. So if it contains that, got a method on the initial phase, that is there, phase. So it can transition to, it's all implicitly cast a string as well, so that's why this works still. I need that, there. And now have this method and transition to this. Theory, I can go back here, say var div equals wait, async, sorry, get how to code, wait, repository, first to default, new entity by that is man.initiative. I need to bring back, I used to have it where I would tab to complete. I don't know where I lost that along the way. That works. That works as a tab complete. Okay. We load the initiative, get rid of the comments. Then we're going to say if initiative can transition to committed. Well, argument null exception dot throw or empty, or if null. I want a full out exception there. I don't care if that's null for whatever reason, then I want it to blow up. Then we can do initiative dot position 2. Hold on, let's start on that. We first go to the initiative object itself. We're adding behavior here, so like assign collaborators, to add public while I'm trying to turn off tab complete. Public void transition to phase. This is really just going to be phase equals phase. Just in. Oh, phase. But then we're going to have to create a domain event. We want to tell things that this happened. We're going to create a new event here. So we've got deliver initial created. We're going to add created. I'm starting to feel that I want to be more descriptive with these things. I think they're a little bit lacking in description. These are just simple records. In this case, we're going to do grid identifier is fine. Source user identifier, we probably want to. That's kind of for us. We don't know before or after it. String phase. Previous. Don't know if we're going to use that right this second, but that's fine. Commit to initiative. Transition to initiative phase. Oh, we're going to have to pass in and repository update. Wait it. Source user. We technically don't need a tenant here. We know exactly what we're after. We're going to go with that for the second. Initiative being all this to turn success. And we're doing this right. What we want to do this, not avoid that extra nesting. Turn dot hidden. Suppose it is forbidden. Not HTTP forbidden though. That's going to come up with a 403 to the conflict. Let's go with that. Again, I'm not a fan of returning messages on client. Like, you're not allowed to do this. You can't do this. That's a conflict. So the client side can handle that. What happens? But essentially, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to be able to test it tonight, but that's pretty much what I'm going to do. Get that working there, and yeah. But I think I'm going to call it there for this evening. I will be back tomorrow morning. We'll continue on with this tomorrow morning, 7 well, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Is 4 hours behind second. Okay. Probably won't get much done before I resume. But if you're interested in having conversations, if you want to chat more about software development, there is a Discord linked in the cards below. You're more than welcome to join in, have conversations, have thoughts, or you want to share projects you do. That is more than welcome. Stream through the morning. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be tip top morning that way. So, but I think this is good progress. We've got a UI that's starting to come together. The behaviors are starting to now start to show, which I think I like. And yeah, things are coming together. So we are going to raid to it's LJ. It's LJ working on his game as always. At least 1 hour every day. inspiring um, thing. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll catch up then. Well, take care, all. Thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of you. Bye all.